Amy Adams was supposed to appear on the Today Show to promote one of her upcoming films called Big Eyes, but it turns out that the Today Show axed the interview completely because Amy Adams refused to address the Sony hacking situation. Now, Amy Adams was included in some of those leaked emails, salary information was shared with the public, and the Today Show wanted to ask her about it, how she felt about those emails, how she felt about her salary in comparison to what other people are making, and she refused to talk about it. According to reports, Adams, who hosted Saturday Night Live over the weekend and stayed in New York an extra day to appear on the show, expressed her preference to stick to Big Eyes questions since the interview was only slated to last 4 minutes. Well, the Today Show wasn't cool with that. And they're like, no, you don't have that type of editorial control. So if you're not willing to play ball, then we're just going to have to cancel the interview altogether.
So I'm mixed on this story. So I like that the Today Show said, no, you don't get to dictate what questions we ask. We'll ask whatever we like. You like that too, right?
I do like that. I think it's one of the rare cases where a news organization or news show refuses to compromise its principles for access, because oftentimes they will ask the softball questions to celebrities and politicians because they want access to them.
So it's refreshing to hear. So I'm with you on that, Anna. It's great news. And now the second part of this is they say that Adams got really mad and yelled at them, etc. And to sort that out, you can always tell from the context clues. Her rep said her yelling at them was, quote, somewhat exaggerated, meaning it wasn't exaggerated that much. She really yelled at him. Okay, so if you got a star yelling at you, right, and you go, oh, you know what, if you're not interested in answering the questions, go ahead and piss off. Again, I like you. But the reason I'm mixed on it is we shouldn't know the information about their salaries in the first place. So if I'm Amy Adams, I'm like, look, I don't want to answer your questions about private emails, right? And so that's like if it was in the news in any other way, if I'm Amy Adams, I go, hey, that's fair game, right? But I don't want you taking information from the leaks and then using that, and in a way to kind of annoy me, They have every right to annoy her otherwise in an interview. So I get where she's coming from. That's why I'm a little mixed on it.
Yeah, if she was upset and angry at them, insisting that they ask her about it, I can totally understand that as well. But overall, I think that this played out the way that it should always play out in the media, right? I don't think that any guest should dictate what you're going to ask or what you're going to discuss during the show. I also don't really understand when guests ask for a list of questions. That happens often, and a lot of news organizations will give them the list of questions. No, we're having a conversation. First of all, it's cool to have a list of questions, but it's also even better to have a spontaneous conversation with someone, right? And also, you shouldn't prep someone so they know exactly how to answer things and so they know exactly which talking points to utilize while they're on the show.
So this is what's part of what's wrong with TV, that they had the conversation in the first place, right? About what they're going to talk about on air, but they can't help themselves. TV is overproduced.
Yes, and it's unbearable.
So they are so afraid that somebody will go on air and it will not be scripted and it will not be produced, and that they might say something or that wasn't prepared ahead of time, or they make it a question that they didn't prepare for ahead of time. That's why TV feels so boring.
And robotic.
Yeah, forget the ethics of journalism for a second, right? But the secondary problem is that they've planned things out so much that they go, okay, now I will ask you about this. I will give you my answer. I will ask you the next question. I will give you my next boring answer, which my publicist wrote for me.
And the worst part about that is, as a journalist or someone who works in the media, the most important thing you can do is ask a follow-up question. And when you have a list of questions that you are forced to ask by a producer, then you're not allowed to go along with the spontaneous conversation. I'll give you a quick example. I've been on a number of different shows, right? And I remember being on one show where they give you a list of questions they want you to ask the guest. And if you veer in a completely different direction, the producers are in your ear and they're freaking out. They're like, we don't know where this is gonna go. It makes us uncomfortable, stop.
Well, yeah, that's a sad day for you. Yeah. So that's why I think the way we do stuff is a little bit more interesting. Now, look, it's not to say that there are never any ground rules, right? So it's possible that in an interview somebody could say, hey, listen, this is a topic that I'm not gonna talk about, so if you get it, all you're gonna get is me saying no comment,
right,
etc. But you can ask anything else, right? I think that begins to be a fair conversation, right? But when you get to scripted stuff, it's not only unethical, it's uninteresting, right? That's the bigger problem.